Before I say anything about Turner and Hooch, I just want to say real quick, thank you sincerely for 250 subscribers. That number got here way faster than the first 100. Knowing that there are a few hundred of you that cares about this content is amazing to me, and I will never take that for granted. So thanks. So, Turner and Hooch. It's a show that is surprising to me, to say the least. When it was first announced, I was like, whatever, we'll see, who knows, no expectations. After the first episode, I was like, this was good, but realistically, episode 1 was the original movie in terms of story and character, so I had the feeling, will they keep making good content for this series? And there episode 2 came along, that Die Hard inspired episode, and I absolutely loved it. It got hard, the plot was a lot of fun, it was really entertaining, and episode 3, well, really good. But I do have one caution. Hi fellow Disney Plus watchers, this is Thoughts After Disney Plus Watch, where we review everything new Disney Plus coming out, and I'm glad you're watching. This is the channel that's specifically about movies, shows, and all that's Disney Plus original stuff. So just a fair warning here before we start, I do want to discuss spoilers to really do this episode justice. So you can press that watch later button if you haven't seen it yet. Still here? Let's go. This episode is all about Scott trying to live up to expectations, trying to be like the cool guy in class, Trent, and his so-called T-Squad, and he gets his chance when he finally convinces Trent to go take him along with him on this case to make sure to track down this criminal Krista St. Jean, who is preparing for a jewelry heist of some sorts. And let me pause there for a second. This whole case itself, this Krista St. Jean and her henchmen planning a heist, is just like last week, not that interesting. The case itself is only a springboard for character work for Scott and Hooch and whoever else. There's not much intrigue within the villains themselves. There isn't an exciting case going on where I care too much about the discoveries. It isn't a crime thriller. This show is not trying to though, fair enough. But you know, there's one thing I'm a little bit worried about for this show moving forward. Not crazy worried, but just a little bit, because I really enjoy this show and it's such a big surprise. But what this episode did show me is that it's probably maintaining a very tight formula where every episode will end with Scott standing one-on-one, face-to-face with our cardboard villain, Hooch saving the day, using the one thing that Scott didn't like about Hooch during the episode, but it was essential after all, you know what I mean? You know, last week it was the kissy face. Stop with the kissy face, why are you like this, Hooch, why are you doing this to me? And then at the end, Hooch saves the day using the kissy face. And here is the squeaky toy, where Krista St. Jean gets distracted and Scott has the chance to take the shot, all because of this toy. And Scott trying to live up to Trent and the boys, trying to prove Hooch's worth to them, and always ending up somewhere or someplace they aren't supposed to. I guess that will be a standard trope moving forward too. Don't get me wrong, I'm totally on board for the episodes to come. Trent being the cool kid in school, Scott being like the likable loser, also trying to say the things that he thinks Trent wants to hear, but failing miserably, like Trent talking about, you failed, Scott, but from failure comes a bridge to, and then Scott says Terabithia, accidentally revealing his nerdy side, trying to say the things that Trent wants to hear. That dynamic was sprinkled throughout this whole episode, and I loved that. But this episode does make me aware of the pitfalls this show can fall into. Wouldn't it be great if this series can slowly grow into a show that does feature exciting detective work along with the already good character work and humor? I guess they're trying to build that up with this big case Scott's father left behind, but we have to wait and see. This formula is good for another few episodes, but this show has to get a little more creative with the formula later on, in my opinion. One of the things I enjoy most about this show is still the dynamic between Erica and Turner, and what I think is funny is that Erica's trying to do the same thing that Scott does around Trent, copying behavior, trying to fit in, correcting said words, doing everything she can to maintain the image. A great example is the opening scene, because last episode Erica agreed to go running with Scott as a first date, you can say, and she doesn't even like it or is able to keep up with him, but she pushes through and just Erica abandons who she is and never lets her guard down, trying everything she can to make Scott like her. Well, and I really do like that we get a little more from Scott's sister, and we learn that she has always dreamed about being a vet, and that will definitely pay off later. And you know what? I'm calling it now. Sometime this season, Hooch will get injured, and she is there to save him with the skills she knows, and she gets an award or something and becomes a successful and well-known vet. Something like that. It's still speculation. It would be good if somehow she gets a character arc, and she isn't just along for the ride. The big returning Hooch joke this week is of course his squeaky toy, and this is of course perfect. What would the writers of the show be thinking if they didn't include a story where Scott would get mentally challenged because of a dog toy? And one of the highlight scenes, in my opinion, is absolutely the scene where Scott tries to get away with swapping the... I can't remember what they are called, but the little rubber inside these toys that squeaks, that makes the sound. And this is such a relatable scene because it shows that our pets are always a little bit smarter than we think. We once had a dog and sometimes they just surprise you. And this scene where Hooch doesn't fall for the replacement toy is great because it reminded me of that. Also, Erica's explanation about why dogs love squeaky toys was really great and encouraged me to fact check it because it sounded so plausible. And yes, it's true. I've checked a few different sources and apparently it's common knowledge. So maybe I'm stupid, but According to this blog post from the Dog People, and I quote, "According to the American Kennel Club, studies conducted by scientific researchers to examine why dogs preferred certain toys over others concluded that it can all be traced back to our dog's wolf ancestry. Similarly to how wolves choose their prey, dogs prefer toys that can be torn apart, smell like something they can eat, or make noise. That squeaking sound may be annoying to us, but to our pets it resembles the sound of a scared or injured animal, which activates their hunting instinct. This is why our dogs often won't stop playing with their toy until the squeaking mechanism is broken when they have killed their prey." Remember how Hooch also refused to ever stop playing with it during this episode? Now we know. One thing I found a bit weird was the inclusion of Erica's brother, who is, I know, autistic. But I don't know a lot of people having to deal with things like autism, but I do know that they are still human beings. This particular character was fake. Written to have autism, performed to have autism, but there wasn't a human in there, unfortunately. His acting wasn't awkward or anything, just totally and entirely fake, and that takes me out of the story a little bit. Hope we never see him again. Harsh, sorry, thought it was worth mentioning. I really like this episode as it deals with characters trying to live up to others, and we see that in both Erica and Scott, which was all well done. It delved into the psychology of Hooch, what makes him tick. There was loads of humor. I'm genuinely laughing at multiple scenes and character moments every week. Sometimes I say, yeah, this show is funny, but am I laughing? That's a real question, not always, but Turner and Hooch makes me laugh. I am slightly worried about this show getting stale. It has to reinvent itself a bit here and there. I hope that the big case that has been building up through the past episodes gets interesting and we get some genuinely exciting detective work in this show that would make it even better. I'm thinking about wrapping this up. Thank you so much for watching. I'm curious, what did you think of this episode? Be sure to let me know in the comment section. Don't forget, if you enjoyed the idea of discussing Disney Plus content with us, that red button looks familiar, right? And if you're interested in thoughts on previous episodes, it's all in the description or you can browse the channel page. Did you like this video? Then be sure to consider giving that a click. Thanks. I will be back tomorrow with my thoughts on the Mysterious Benedict Society and the Bad Batch. For now, have a wonderful day and see ya.